Welcome to the Ringer Fantasy Football Show. My name is Danny Heifetz, and I am joined by Danny Kaling, Craig Horlbeck, and today it is Power Hour, where we power rank something every Wednesday. And today we are power ranking quarterbacks who will be available in the offseason, because we were frankly just so blown away that the Colts actually signed grandfather Phillip Rivers that we are just going to look at the quarterback carousel and see who's available, who needs a quarterback, what quarterbacks are actually going to be out there, because, wow, I am not over. DK, someone your age is going to be in the NFL.
Grandpappy Rivers out there. It sounds like a whiskey brand or something. Yeah, it's gonna be awesome. I'm actually very excited to see this. I don't know if it's gonna be a complete disaster, probably, but I'll be watching.
It's gonna be fun until about 3 minutes into the game when you realize that the Colts can't move the ball and Phillip Rivers is 44. The first snap will be fun, and then it'll probably be pretty boring.
What if he just passes to Tyler Warren 17 times a game?
Well, we're going to talk about that on the preview show, about like what you should do with Tyler Warren.
We're going to have to get into all that. We're also going to have Chris Ryan on the show today. We're going to just do an Eagles wellness check with Chris Ryan here at the Ringer. And you know what? I think we are going to start the Discord, because a lot of people emailed us about the Discord. So we could post that in the episode description, or email us if you want the Discord. I think we're going to do that. And we're going to get to all that. Fantasy Court emails. But first, we're going to take a quick break. This episode is presented by Chime. Bank smarter this season. Fantasy football is all about strategy. Well, here's a winning strategy for your money. Trade banking fees for fee-free banking, 1.5% cash back, getting paid when you say, and a higher APY on your savings. That's a lineup that wins. Stop banking the old way. Bank smarter through Chime. Chime is a financial technology company, not a bank. Banking services and the secured Chime Visa credit card provided by the Bancorp Bank N.A. or Stride Bank N.A. members FDIC. Optional services and products may have fees or charges. Details at chime.com/fees info. With a qualifying direct deposit, earn 1.5% cash back on eligible secured Chime Visa credit card purchases. APY means annual percentage yield. Learn more at chime.com. Okay, so we're going to go through quarterbacks for this offseason, in large part because the Colts just signed Phillip Rivers to their practice squad, a semifinalist for the Hall of Fame as of 2 weeks ago. And the details on that, well, it depends. So the details on that, if he's activated to the if he's promoted to the active roster, Phillip Rivers, his 5-year window for the Hall of Fame resets, which he's not going to make it. But if he stays on the practice squad, Rivers is still Hall of Fame eligible. He's older than Phillip Rivers is older than Shane Steichen, the head coach of the Colts. He's older than Jim Bob Cooter, the coordinator for the Colts. He's multiple players in the Colts roster were like a year old when Phillip Rivers was drafted. DK, moments before we started recording here on Tuesday afternoon, you sent me a post by someone on Twitter that Rivers said he's been running. Who said? What was this? J.J. Watt who said that?
J.J. Watt apparently from the production meeting. Rivers has been running the same offense the Colts run for his son Gunner's team, because he's a high school football coach right now. And apparently Rivers calls Steichen and talks to him about the offense and like how things are going, discussing plays and even film, according to J.J. Watt. So. This makes more sense, I guess, why they called Phillip Rivers over at Craig yesterday. You were like, why Phillip Rivers? Like, don't they have anyone else? It's because Shane Steichen and him are buddies, and they still talk about the offense.
It always comes down to who you know.
I mean, Phillip Rivers put together a pretty good career, so I think it makes a little bit of sense. But it is. By the way, they didn't sign Phillip Rivers to the practice squad to not elevate him to the roster. Unless he tears his hamstring in practice one, he's going to be their starter at some point.
The only thing I could think of that would even make sense if the goal is not for him to play is that they're so concerned about Brett Rippon and Riley Leonard having to play that they actually want Phil Rivers to sit there and help coach, basically. But no, I think Phil Rivers is coming back to play football.
Yeah.
And what's nice to know is that if you look at where Gunner went to high school, I believe it is, I have it here, St. Michael Catholic. They were 13-1 this year, so they're doing soming right. And
the offense is working.
They should have signed Phillip Rivers' son to play quarterback. He'd probably be better than Phillip Rivers at this point. Also, at some point, that's going to happen between NIL and everything. At some point, just sign a high schooler. It's fine. There are a lot of things. Well, we're not going to get rid of this at any point. I mean, this is just delicious. Do you think this is more or less weird, the Colts signing a quarterback to play because they talked to him on the phone a lot with the head coach? Is that better or worse than the time when the Colts hired Jeff Saturday to be their head coach because the old owner, Jim Irsay, would just call him sometimes?
I think the Jeff Saturday thing was weirder because Phillip Rivers, believe it or not, has played quarterback in the NFL before. So that makes it less weird to me.
Then Jeff Saturday being on First Take on ESPN one day and then being the coach of the Colts the next day.
Did Jeff Saturday coach at any level whatsoever before coaching the NFL?
I think high school. I mean, he was a center for the Colts for a long time. He's just friends with Jim Irsay.
So that was weirder, but the Colts just do weird things. This is thinking outside the box. I would say this. I mean, obviously, Phillip Rivers is older than Joe Flacco, but I pretty much thought Joe Flacco's career was dead and gone. And he came back and he played pretty well for a little while.
He's 4 years older than Joe Flacco.
That's not nothing.
Think about that.
That's actually crazy. If he was,
but think about how many.
freshman.
Think about how good his body's feeling after not getting beat up for the last, 4 or 5 years.
There's been so much made about the Colts' new owner, Jim Irsay's daughter, Carly Irsay Gordon, being on the headset this year and being on the sideline. And I'm curious what this pitch was to Carly Irsay Gordon of like, I got an idea at quarterback. Just, we'll see. So with that said, I think we're kind of inspired here. We're going to pretend for a moment that the Colts, breaking news, they've hired us to fix their quarterback situation. We're starting a consulting firm, which I don't know what we should call it. Do we have a better name, Craig?
I mean, I kind of like when firms have like multiple of the same name in it. Like it's a generational company, like Danny, and Craig. We could just do that. That's very simple.
Danny and Sons? Rivers and Sons?
Rivers and Sons? We just call ourselves McKinsey? Has anyone taken that?
Yeah, that's good. We should just name that.
Like
we're going to be the McKinsey Consulting Group. We're going to go through. We're just going to look at the quarterbacks that are available this offseason because I just think this was a wake-up call for all these teams. But because also the Daniel Jones injury, again, the Colts season might be lost. I mean, we'll get into their competitiveness for the rest of the season. But Daniel Jones, I mean, tearing his Achilles, we don't know if Daniel Jones is going to be ready for the beginning of next season. And we don't know if Daniel Jones will be ready. I mean, he could have a setback and not be ready at any point in the middle of next season. So I mean, if you kind of pull the thread out, we want to just look at the overall quarterback market. So we're going to, we'll get a presentation here for the Colts and we'll build them from McKinsey.
We'll have to make a PowerPoint.
And we're factoring in like contract, if you have to trade for this guy, if they're going to be a free agent, how old they are. Like this isn't just like in a vacuum situation. We are considering every single element of what it would take to bring a quarterback in.
Including the best abilities, availability, and we're going to start with how available all these guys. So We're just going to go through and just look at who are the quarterbacks that are available next year. We're not going to do the clock. Sorry to Tom, but I think some of these guys don't necessarily need 2 minutes. So we're going to go through more guys than usual. I want to start with the NFL draft and the quarterbacks here. And I just want to remind everyone, we do the draft show over the offseason. Like we cover the whole offseason. So if you're here for fantasy, we do the whole playoffs. We go through the Super Bowl. We go to the Combine in Indianapolis. We do the draft. We do free agency. We do all this stuff. So stick with us. Once the regular season ends, the playoffs, we're here like year round as a show. But for the draft, DK, this isn't a very deep class at quarterback for the draft. And if you're the Colts, there's not much hope. I feel like it's relatively simple. It's like there's Fernando Mendoza, the quarterback in Indiana. He's probably the number one pick this year or wherever he goes. It's like the teams that need a franchise pick. The Browns have multiple first rounders. The Jets have multiple first rounders. The Raiders, like one of those teams is going to take Fernando Mendoza. And then if Dante Moore Jr. comes out at Oregon, he would also go Browns, Jets, Raiders. And then that's kind of it. There's Ty Simpson from Alabama, but like he also might go Browns, Jets, Raiders, maybe the Steelers, a team. But I feel like all these other quarterbacks are going back to school this year. Like I don't think there's a ton of quarterbacks in this year's draft.
That's how it feels right now. Especially with Mendoza has like a lot of momentum based on that post-game interview that we saw from a couple days ago. People
flipping champs.
So yeah, I would say with Dante Moore and Ty Simpson, strong chance one or both of those guys goes back. So I don't think it's supposed to be a very deep year for the quarterback spot. So, and by the way, if we're doing the consulting thing for the Colts don't have they don't have first rounder for 2 more years.
Correct.
So,
exactly.
That is kind of just while acknowledging teams can go to the draft for these quarterbacks, we're kind of taking the draft out of the picture.
But are we also going to remove the fact that if the Colts wanted to trade for, let's say, Trevor Lawrence, they probably couldn't do that because they don't have first-round picks?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's a huge problem for them. Okay. And I mean, Lawrence is a good example of this exercise where I think ironically, even around the trade deadline, it was probably, Lawrence was probably available. I don't think Lawrence would ever get traded to the Colts because they're in the same division. But Lawrence is a good example of, I don't think he's available anymore. Like he's playing too well. The Jags are they're going to make the playoffs probably. So he's probably the worst quarterback or the best quarterback that was available at any point, but he's out. But yeah, in terms of the draft, I mean, I think Arch Manning's going back to college. Lenore Sellers for South Carolina is going back. John Mateer at Oklahoma, maybe. Garrett Nussmeier is probably going to be out in the draft, but Garrett Nussmeier got benched for LSU at one point this season briefly. Carson Beck, I don't know if his teammates love him, and frankly, I feel like the thing I associate with Carson Beck the most is just all the dick pics that just keep coming about. So I don't know. I think the second round quarterbacks the Colts could get by definition are not going to like be win now players if they're falling into the second round.
There will be some Tyler Shuck version of Tyler Shuck in the draft, probably.
There always is.
And you know what? Jackson Dart, maybe, like a guy that I think earlier on in the process wasn't considered a high-end prospect and then kind of turned into one through the process, and he's looked pretty good.
But so the reality is the draft is the last piece of this, and the Colts are, because they don't have a first rounder, are not in position to like wait for the draft. So we have to look. So I want to start with just quarterbacks that are playing right now, like trade candidates at quarterback, and we're just going to go through here.
And this is in order of guys that, like, let's say, like, you're the Colts next year, you have a competitive roster, and you need a quarterback to kind of try to take you to the next level. Who could you reasonably bring in that would give you the best shot next year and beyond is kind of what we're thinking, where if you have a guy like Daniel Jones who's probably not going to play next year with his Achilles thing, like, what do you do? And so we're going to start with the guy we'd probably try to get the most and then down.
That's not how I ordered it. I wanted to order it as I'm ordering it as I think these are every team that would answer the phone about their quarterback. And then I want to talk through with you guys about whether we should recommend the Colts call this team. So, for example...
That's kind of the same thing. Yeah, okay.
Well, I think I'm saying I'm not...
We're starting with good quarterbacks working our way down.
Well, the first guy on the list I had is Tua, so I didn't want to be like, whoa, that's my best option.
Bristling at how you say this because Tua is number one.
Tua is the first guy I had on this list, so I didn't want to be like, oh, my number one suggestion. Yeah. I think these are teams that'll pick up the phone, and then I want to talk to you guys about whether we should actually call them.
I have Tua extremely low on my list.
Okay, well, I wanted to go through. So Tua, here's the deal. I think the Dolphins will replace Tua, but after looking into his contract, I think Tua is basically untradeable and uncuttable in 2026. And kind of a locked, I think he's going to get cut in 2027 because the Dolphins would save a lot of money in cutting him in 2027, but I don't think Tua actually can be moved. So I do think Tua will be the quarterback for the Dolphins next year, but if they could find a way to foist him upon someone, I think they would.
$55 million in 2026 for Tua. He is the lowest quarterback on my list of available guys. He's dead last. If I were the Colts, I would want him the least for how much he costs.
Yeah, so he's undersized, extremely scheme specific, extremely high injury risk, says weird stuff in the media.
What would you say you do here?
He's the most scheme specific guy I think I can think of in terms of just like, I don't know what he would look like in any other offense. They've completely geared everything around him, and even that is not very good. So, yeah.
Well, speaking of which, the next team here that I think would pick up the phone, Tua is not available. I think this guy's super available. Kyler Murray, quarterback for the Cardinals for now, basically got benched for Jacoby Brissett, and they put him on injured reserve so everyone can save some face here. The Cardinals need to make a decision on Kyler Murray by March 15th. And option one is keep Kyler Murray as your backup quarterback behind Jacoby Brissett for, let me check here, $40 million a year. $40 million a year backup. Option two is cut Kyler Murray. Or option three is trade Kyler Murray and try to get a pick back. I think you could actually get Kyler for a third or fourth rounder. It's kind of funny how fast life comes at you.
Yeah, it's like one of those things where they'll ask for a second or a first, and then they'll get a late second or maybe like a future second or a third.
I think a third or fourth. Yeah. The Cardinals have to take on money to take.
I feel like a fourth is too embarrassing.
It's true. They probably
day three pick.
Again, $40 million. If you're not going to play him, it's $40 million a year for backup. So they need to release the money. But you're right. Like
how much is Cousins making this year?
30,
yeah,
35. Okay. Yeah, jeez. Around that. So it's embarrassing. So with that said, Kyler's available. Kyler's the most available of all these guys. DK, if you're the Colts, would you, or any team that needs a quarterback right now, would you want Kyler Murray?
That's a really hard question to answer.
Like, define want. I mean, it depends on what you're going up against. Like, if I have the option to get Mac Jones or Kyler Murray, I would take Mac Jones in a second.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And it's hilarious because of how much Kyler makes. The things that Kyler has going for him, obviously, is he's still relatively young. He's mobile, athletic. You know, he moves around. He can do this stuff outside of the pocket. And then basically everything else is a big question mark or a negative. I don't think he's known particularly for his leadership skills. Like every year he's faded towards the end of the season. Injuries have been an issue. Being on the same page with his receivers has been an issue. It's basically just been all downhill for Kyler since like a couple of years ago.
He'll be 29 years old at the beginning of next season. He's played one full season since 2020. He's 10 games below 500 career. He has one winning season as a starting quarterback. And a guy like him, who's the most undersized quarterback in the league, he's going to be 29. He gets hurt all the time. His mobility is like the one thing that separates him. I would not be taking on any kind of money, even if I'm only having to send a third round pick. I just don't think. I don't know. I guess if you think about it, if you're the Colts, if Kyler Murray's just on the Colts right now, healthy, are they a playoff team? Maybe. But
yeah,
I think the price tag of it is the issue. Where I would not pay $43 million in 2026 to be the Colts led by Kyler Murray next year.
Wouldn't part of the trade be the team, the Cardinals would have to eat part of his contract?
That would be
they would have
negotiation.
I think they would have to. Yeah, I think there's probably $17 million bonus. I don't think anyone cares about the accounting right now, but yeah, but you'd still be paying Kyler at a minimum of $30 million, 25 for sure. Instead
Craig,
of 40.
Let me ask you this, because
you're also changing everything about your offense for him. Like the Cardinals, Trey McBride has as many touchdowns in the last 6 weeks with Jacoby Brissett as Trey McBride did in the rest of his career combined. Like I don't know if Kyler's even giving you a good showcase of your own players.
I think the Kyler scenario is going to be similar to like the Justin Fields contract a little bit. Obviously it's a different situation because you have to make a trade, but it's like basically we don't have high hopes.
Fields contract?
Yes. Like we don't have high hopes. We don't think he's going to be a high level starter, but he's better than what we have right now. He's better and there's a world in which we can design an offense around this guy. Obviously it did not work out with Justin Fields. I think Kyler is very clearly a better quarterback than Justin Fields, but I think just stylistically it's a bridge quarterback. You're not trading for him to be your new future franchise pillar. It's like, it's better than what we could get in the draft or what we have in free agency. That kind of deal.
I think unless it's an abject disaster, people are always going to take a second chance on the first overall pick. And Kyler has not been an abject disaster. It's been a big disappointment. But him joining a second team and getting another shot, I think, is going to happen. I don't know if I believe in it, but a team is going to take a shot at him.
So on that note, before we move off Kyler, what team do you think Kyler would have the most success on, DK? Or I guess you'd be the least surprised if Kyler was successful on. There's teams like, Jets, Raiders, Browns. I think those are the funniest teams if Kyler went to the Browns or Jets. But teams that could use a bridge, the Colts, the Vikings, Falcons, maybe, the Steelers. God. Like, which of those teams do you think would you be least surprised if Kyler was had like a really good season next year, went to the playoffs?
That's tough. I guess I lean Steelers. I don't know. Craig, would you be, say Rodgers retires. We'll talk about Rodgers in a minute, but like say Rodgers retires, would you rather have like a bridge year with like a Mason Rudolph type of journeyman or trade a third for Kyler Murray and see how it goes this year?
I don't want to trade a third for Kyler Murray and give him
You wouldn't even give up a third?
$35 million. I wouldn't want it. I mean, the stylistic whiplash on the Pittsburgh offense going from Aaron Rodgers to Kyler Murray, it's like neither of which I think are good for DK Metcalf or these giant tight ends. Like, it just, to me, none of it really makes sense. So I don't think it's a good fit in the cold weather and not in a dome. Like, I just think it's a horrible fit across the board.
Stylistic whiplash is a great way to put the Rodgers to Kyler thing, because Rodgers is kind of like a person that everything needs to be exactly where they are. Like, those. Do you have any friends who won't even like let you load the dishwasher a different way than they do it? Like, everything has to be the way he does it. Kyler is someone whose room is like, whose apartment's so messy that they can find stuff, but only they know where anything is. And it's like only Kyler is the one who's going to be able to do stuff, but he couldn't do anything in anyone else's place.
Kyler needs to go to a team with like out an identity. Like, he needs to go to like the Raiders or something where he can just kind of they start with Kyler and then build out from there rather than try to shove Kyler into something like the Steelers.
I also kind of wonder about
feel like the most likely.
If they keep Pete Carroll, I think Kyler and Russell Wilson have a lot in common, both stylistically and, in a funny way, issues with their leadership because no one respects Russ, even though he really wants to be a leader, and Kyler doesn't seem interested. I don't know what the deal is with Kyler, but he's the only active quarterback whose teammates have criticized him on the record for leadership, which is just never done. And so Pete Carroll has a lot of experience with Russell, like this the same archetype. It's crazy athletic, undersized quarterbacks that if Russell Wilson or Kyler were 6'4", they'd be unbelievable players, but they can't see over the offensive line, and as the athleticism wanes, then suddenly all the crazy off-structure stuff is the offense. This is why the Cardinals chose Brissett over Kyler Murray. It's one, I think they really respect how Jacoby Brissett is prepping. That's, to me, the indictment of Kyler's offseason. It's always obviously hard when we're not around Kyler or whatever every day, but all the Cardinals are like, Jacoby Brissett, he's so prepared. He sends me, Michael Wilson was talking about, he sends me clips
saying, right?
Yeah. It's like, they're like, he sends me clips of how he wants me to run routes. I can't believe how much time he's spending studying film. And we're like, that's not good. That's what they're talking about. So I think Pete Carroll and the Raiders, if they kept Pete Carroll, that would make sense for Kyler.
He loves the reclamation. He loves.
Yeah.
I also like. I don't know. To me, it makes a lot more sense for Kyler to play in a dome and play in a West Coast division. Like, I just don't like him being on the Raiders and playing the Chargers and Denver, and he's playing indoors a lot rather than like you throw him in the AFC North. I just think that's a disaster.
That is true. And also, yeah, like the Steelers. I mean, we just Rodgers now. I think the Steelers. Aaron Rodgers is a free agent. Mm-hmm. But I think the Steelers are going to keep him, right? I don't think Rodgers would leave them. I don't think the Steelers would leave Rodgers, right?
No, I mean, unless Tomlin's gone, Matt, that could change things because I know Rodgers really likes Tomlin. But I think if Rodgers were to come back next year, I think it would only be with Pittsburgh. I don't think he wants to do a third team in 3 years.
You think but that is the scenario. Like if the Steelers fire Tomlin, which I don't think will happen.
No, I don't either.
But if they did, you think Rodgers would just retire? Because I think he's played pretty well this year.
Yeah, I honestly, it
probably
probably depends on what happens. I think there's still like the remainder of the season is probably still will affect what Rodgers does. Like if they win a playoff game, he's coming back, I think. If they don't make the playoffs, I could see him retiring. And if he doesn't feel good about where if Tomlin gets fired or if the Steelers, bottom out and lose their last 3 games and don't make the playoffs, I think all of that still will factor in.
Well, the most Rodgers himself believer in the universe and all these things. His whole career has just been a copy of Brett Favre. 15 years with the Packers,
right.
Traded to the Jets. He would have his little sojourn to the Steelers. But, like, if he then went to the Vikings and then there was, like, Rodgers and then McCarthy just kind of, sit behind him for a year, that would actually
Did Favre go to an NFC Championship game with Minnesota? Or was it a divisional?
Yes, and they should have beaten the Saints in the 2009 championship game, and then Favre threw a back-breaking pick at the end of the game, and Favre blew it for them.
Well,
but
right
they should have
now,
made the Super Bowl.
Right now, the AFC playoff setup has the Steelers playing the Chargers in round 1. That's a great game for the Steelers.
Oh, I have a take purge at some point. I don't know if now's the time. I might have to do a Friday preview about the Chargers.
Just do it. I want it now.
I think the Chiefs are going to make the playoffs.
You think the Chargers are going to bottom out?
And I think the Chargers are going to blow it. This is a completely sidetrack. But
Heifetz is going back to the Eagles-Chiefs Super Bowl take.
Well, the Chiefs play the Chargers next week.
Yeah.
Let's just say the Chiefs win that game. Do you realize what the Chiefs have to win out after that? Do you realize 2 of the 3 games are the Raiders and the Titans? Those are the worst teams in the league.
What's the other one?
The Broncos. So that's harder. But if the Chiefs win that game, that would be 4-0. So the Chiefs have to go 4-0, but it's Chargers, Broncos that are harder. Mm-hmm. Raiders, Titans are like 2-0. All that has to happen, in addition to that, is the Chargers, who after the next week would play the Cowboys, Texans, and Broncos. Mm-hmm. The Chargers would just have to go 1-2 versus Broncos, Houston, and Cowboys. They could lose 2 games versus those games, and then the Chiefs would make the playoffs, and the Chargers would not. And we just all wrote off the Chiefs. But I kind of am looking at this. I'm like, if the Chiefs win this week, they're going to make the fucking playoffs.
Well, because you have to factor in that there's going to be a wild card. Houston or Jacksonville is going to get the wild card in the AFC South. The other wild card is already going to be an AFC North team. I guess, yeah.
Division.
Sorry, yeah. Because the Chargers could still be the other wild card. Like, all 3 could make it, theoretically,
But
right?
the Chiefs could I think the Chiefs, could leapfrog the Chargers because they look so bad right now. And the tackles and everything. I think the Chargers do not look great. And I think it could be...
Just beat the Eagles.
I don't know, because, look, you already have... the Bills are going to be a wild card, and the Texans are going to be a wild card. So there's only 1 spot left for the Chiefs and Chargers.
And the Chiefs play the Chargers this week. And I'm saying I think that the Chiefs could finish 4-0, and I think the Chargers could finish, 1-3.
I'm going to bet on the Chargers this weekend.
That would put the Chiefs, 10-7? Yeah.
I'm just saying. Just throwing it out there. With that said... Actually, no, I don't know what we're talking about.
Let's go to the next team. That would take a call.
Next team here. I was just looking at basically just going by teams that would pick up the phone.
Yeah.
The Panthers with Bryce Young.
For sure.
I think ultimately I'm curious what you guys think. I think the answer is no, the Panthers wouldn't trade Bryce because he's so cheap that I don't think anyone would give up what it costs to get Bryce Young, because Bryce Young is more valuable to the Panthers than anyone, where it's, I mean, he's making $12 million next year, which for a quarterback, I mean, Justin Fields got double that on free agency, and it was cheap. I don't know. I mean, either of you actually think Bryce Young is actually a trade target?
Yeah, I think that's kind of the problem is here. Who's going to trade for him? Because he's all over the place. He's had a couple of really nice games, but for the most part, his numbers are pretty bad this season. His numbers were really bad. His rookie season, he had an 8-game. He basically had an 8-game stretch where he was really good, and then throw in like a 480-yard game or whatever it was that he had this year, and otherwise he's been pretty much bad.
He's like if Kyler wasn't that athletic.
Yeah, if Kyler had no athletic tools or physical tools.
Yeah, he's definitely more valuable on the Panthers, and you'd have to overspend to take him out of Carolina, which at that point, do you really want to overspend for Bryce Young? But I do have him high on the list of like guys that I would be interested in taking a shot on because of their price and how important they are to the team they're on, which like ultimately in the grand scheme of things, I don't think is that important. Like for the right price, I think the Panthers would probably get rid of Bryce Young, but I could be wrong.
Right. Yeah, they're one of the teams on here that I think would listen to offers, because I think they're probably at this point realizing the clock is ticking on whether we're going to pick up his option, whether we're going to sign him to a longer-term contract. Maybe we would try and avoid that whole scenario. We know he's not the long-term answer.
Right. They have one more year before they have to before they can pick up his 5th-year option. I mean, they could win the NFC South this year, and if they win the NFC South, he's not going to go anywhere.
Well, that's the thing, though. It's easy to say a pick, but the reality is, I mean, would the Panthers take a 2nd-round pick for Bryce Young? No way. No. Of course not. Now, would you give up a top 10 pick in the draft for Bryce Young? Probably not. Would you give up the 25th pick in the draft for Bryce Young?
Maybe, yeah.
But the Panthers wouldn't. And I think that's kind of the
could
problem.
The Steelers offer the 22nd pick?
You don't think the Panthers would take the 25th pick?
For Bryce Young?
Yeah.
No, because then who's their quarterback? Andy Dalton?
I think they
Mac
would.
Jones?
Well, we can talk about Mac Jones, too. I think Mac Jones is number 1 on my list in terms of guys who are, like, gettable.
He is number 1 on my list. Oh, let's go through it right now. Would you rather have Mac Jones? Because Mac Jones would need to be traded, right? Like, he's under contract.
So Mac Jones, the contract, so he's one more year for the 49ers for a $4 million cap hit.
Right.
Which is such a good deal that you're going to have to pay for it. And I actually think, well, what were you going to say? I mean, again, he went 5-3 this year as filling in for Brock Purdy.
I mean, if you're Carolina, would you rather have, I don't know, the 25th pick from some team and then you can trade for Mac Jones? So you would have Mac Jones and the 25th pick, or Bryce Young?
I think the answer was you'd cut out the middleman. I'd rather have Mac Jones. I don't need Bryce Young. I think that you cut the Panthers out of the deal. What team would trade for Bryce Young that wouldn't do Mac Jones? Because I think Mac Jones has the biggest list of teams that could make sense from DK. The list of teams, all the play action based teams that do a Shanahan or McVay stuff, I think could use Mac Jones because he's part. I mean, Shanahan wanted him originally in the 2020 draft or 2021 draft when they ended up taking Trey Lance. But DK, I think Mac Jones would work for the Colts. Mm-hmm. And you could Daniel Jones rehabs, Richardson's like the developmental backup, and Mac Jones plays. I think Mac Jones works for the Vikings and Kevin O'Connell, and he's the next Darnold, and McCarthy kind of sits like behind Mac Jones.
Yeah,
I think the Falcons, if the Falcons wanted to move on from Kirk Cousins, because Michael Penix Jr. is also getting like an ACL reconstruction, so he's not going to be ready either. They're kind of in the same boat as the Colts, right? Where it's like Daniel Jones Achilles, Michael Penix ACL, like kind of the same boat. And I think even Mac Jones to the Steelers could make sense. Even if the Browns didn't get a quarterback, I think the Browns with Kevin Stefanski, Mac Jones makes a ton of sense. I think the Jets, where it's like the Jets, if they want to run anything resembling the Lions, I think there's a lot of teams that would want Mac Jones enough that I do think he'll absolutely cost a 2nd-round pick though, if not more, because I think a lot of teams are going to be interested.
It reminds me of didn't Alex Smith get traded for a second back in the day when they had Mahomes waiting in the wings or whatever? It reminds me of that type of situation where Mac Jones is not as older or proven, I guess, but he by far looked, I think, the best of any of these quarterbacks that we've talked about this year in terms of just his ability to run the offense. He's a former 1st-round pick. You know, he was a really good, or at least relatively good starter his first year before things kind of fell apart in New England. So there's a lot of things working there. I don't know what his personality is gauged in terms of around the league, like his leadership and stuff like that, because he was kind of, I mean, I didn't get good vibes from him as a leader early on.
The Niners have been very impressed with him, And they've talked. I mean, winning helps. We went 5-3, but he went 1-1 versus the Rams. I mean, one of the games he lost was against the Texans, and that defense was no shame in that. I think to your point, I've heard very mixed things about Mac Jones and the Patriots tenure, and a lot about that time of basically some lack of professionalism on the coaching staff side, and basically the Mac Jones kind of got screwed. By the Patriots organization, the end of the Belichick era, Patricia, like a lot of crazy stuff going. Remember, he had to deal with Patricia being the offensive coordinator for a season, and then they threw Mac Jones under the bus because he called Bama for help, and he's like, they don't know what they're doing. I think Mac Jones is clearly the like if you need help. I think if you're the Niners though, and someone else gives you a 4th-round pick, you're like, absolutely not.
No,
we're not giving you Mac Jones
for $4 million to keep him as your backup next year. No way.
Well, that's the thing. Even if you offer them a high 3rd-round pick, you're the Niners. Like Brock Purdy's played 1 full season in 4 years. I agree. He's making $4 million. Literally, Niners already missed a Super Bowl appearance because Brock Purdy got hurt in a championship game.
Yeah,
he got hurt. He has the turf toe right now. I think even a high 3rd-round pick, the Niners can't convince their fan base that that's worth it. I think you need to give the Niners a 2nd-round pick for Mac Jones to be considered, and then you'd have to give Mac Jones like $25-30 million a year.
Yeah,
I agree. I completely
there's
agree.
A big commitment there, but
the Niners have all the leverage. But I think that Mac's one of those guys where it feels like he's better on a good team, which sounds stupid, but it's like if Mac is surrounded by the right pieces, he can be even better, and he's like a force multiplier. But when he's on a shitty team,
he's not an elevator.
Yes, that can't block for him. It's even worse.
That is the second class. That's the second tier quarterbacks. That's everyone, right? There's the guys that we think can. Josh Allen's the perfect example of they'll actually divest from all the receiving talent around him and get rid of a Stephon Diggs because they think Josh is so good. Mahomes, where they divest, they get rid of Tyreek Hill and invest on defense. That's the top tier, guys who can do with anyone. But all these reclamation quarterbacks, that's everyone. Jared Goff with the Lions, Sam Darnold, Daniel Jones, Baker, like when they were on the Panthers or the Browns, like those guys sucked when they were on good supporting cast. I do think Mac Jones makes sense as the next guy like that. The other starters here that I think are worth talking about, J.J. McCarthy and the Vikings. I think this one's simple. If Kevin O'Connell, the Vikings coach, is on the phone and they're trying to convince you to take McCarthy, then you should. If the Vikings are selling, you shouldn't be buying, right?
If he's so good.
Yeah, exactly. That's like a fantasy trade.
Why don't you want him then?
Exactly, yeah. So I think there's no market for McCarthy. They have to hold. So the only other start I want to ask you about, DK, is Geno Smith for the Raiders.
Yeah.
So
complicated. This is a complicated one.
1 year left, no money guaranteed. He makes $26 million.
I don't think it's that complicated.
Well, so the argument against Geno's really easy. He's 35 years old. He'll be in his 3rd team in 3 years, 2-11 on the worst team in the NFL, maybe. And Geno is making a bad situation worse because he leads the NFL in interceptions. So that's like,
doesn't Geno fit into that scenario too, though? What you just said about Mac Jones, where he could make a good team better, but not elevate a horrific team.
Well, this is what I want to ask you guys about, because I know people listening might think I'm insane, where it's like, what do you mean Geno Smith? But here's the thing.
We've just erased the previous 2 years of what Geno Smith did, I think.
1 year ago, Geno Smith, the Seahawks didn't make the playoffs, but they won 10 games last year. Yeah. Geno Smith won 10 games as a starter. He threw for 4,300 yards. And I don't know, if Geno Smith went to the Vikings or the Colts and then just, it would certainly be less improbable than what Daniel Jones just did or Darnold did the year before that. I feel like a year from now, we'd be sitting here and saying, oh, yeah, right. Geno went to the Raiders for Pete Carroll, who is the oldest coach in NFL history. And then Pete Carroll's son was the quarterback's coach. And Pete Carroll's other son was the offensive line coach. And the offensive coordinator was Chip Kelly, who hadn't coached in the NFL for 10 years. And then that didn't work.
And then there was all these reports that basically Pete Carroll was the one that was like making Chip Kelly do all this different stuff. Yeah. So it was a total mess.
So part of me does wonder if you're the Colts, maybe, and you get in a bidding war, because I feel like the Colts and Vikings are in very similar spots here, where a lot of people are going to want Mac Jones. And I guess the question is, someone's like, hey, maybe the Browns are like, we're not going to be able to get Fernando Mendoza. Dante Moore goes back to school. So like the Jets get fucking Fernando Mendoza, and the Browns are like, oh man, we don't want to reach for Ty Simpson or something. You know what? We have 2 firsts. Screw it. We'll give you like a high 2nd rounder for Mac Jones. And then the Colts are like, well, we don't have a better 1st rounder. The Vikings are like, we don't want to do that. And so Mac Jones is off the table. Part of me thinks that Geno Smith would make a lot of sense on the Colts or the Vikings.
Okay. You know what? You might be right.
Well, who's second? We're all saying Mac Jones is first. Who's second?
My take on Geno is he's better than what he's looked like this year, but he's obviously not like a top tier starter.
Yeah,
I do think he'll get another chance. The only thing that's kind of holding me back on Gino is like his sort of Heifetz, you talk about this all the time. His on-field persona is really horrific. Like he's just constantly slamming his helmet. He's like, just complaining all the time.
So
Like his leadership, his body language is not good.
He's
and that
competitive.
Like, worries me a little bit. He's very competitive, and that's generally been a plus.
But DK,
most of the other seasons, but this year it's like he feels like he's gone off the rails.
Well, what are they 2-10? This goes to what you were saying. Like if he's on a competent team, that will change his brain chemistry in a way that right. Like you said, it's better on a good team, even worse, that much worse on a bad team.
No, my only point is I don't know how much teams will want him this offseason.
Can I also push back on that for one moment, though? Because last night you were very upset that Jalen Hurts was literally emotionless.
I know.
He had no emotions whatsoever.
Very true.
So would you rather have
Touché.
Geno Smith, who is angry that the Raiders suck, or do you want him to show no emotions whatsoever?
Yeah, I want him to show emotion, actually. So that's a good point. I think it's just there's obviously a gray area.
I like every time there's an incomplete pass, it cuts to Aaron Rodgers just cussing out himself for a wide receiver. I enjoy that. Okay. I look forward to it.
So I was less saying it makes me upset and more just like I don't know how much teams are going to want to bring that in. But I think you're right, though. He is very, very competitive, and that's better than the alternative.
So I want to go through a couple more guys, and then I want to stop down, and I actually want to sit here and try to rank these options that we would present here to the teams. Yep. Kirk Cousins, who is still playing for quarterback for the Falcons. This is a guy that
Here's a guy.
I think Kirk Cousins will be the week 1 starter for the Atlanta Falcons next year. Because as I got dug into it, I'm like, you know what? There's a year left, $45 million basically for Kirk. They can get that number down by doing accounting math. But I think the Falcons are in the same position as the Colts. Kind of, where Michael Penix with the ACL reconstruction, they don't think Michael Penix will be ready for week 1. Part of me is like, they have Kirk Cousins on the roster.
No first-round pick.
They have yes, the Falcons also gave up the first-round pick. And I'm like, I know. Isn't that funny every time you remember that? You're like, oh my God. The Falcons' life, they could have just had a top 10 pick in this draft and maybe gotten a quarterback in instead. I kind of think the Falcons, what are they going to do? Cut Kirk Cousins and have to acquire another quarterback? Are they going to trade Kirk and then trade for another quarterback and just trade lot? I think Kirk stays on Atlanta.
Yeah.
And then just plays for them next year.
How old is he? Kirk Cousins
returns.
is 37 years old. He'll turn 38 going into next year.
He turns 38 in August. I mean,
he's looked better this year. I think the Seahawks is a burn the tape. I don't think you can judge anyone versus Seattle.
I know, yeah.
But he looks more
to be honest with you,
Heifetz,
I agree with you. Like, even though his numbers were horrific against the Seahawks, I'm like, he looked more like capable than I was expecting, and I think he probably has some left in the tank for next year.
So does that mean you think I have to throw out the Brosmer tape against Seattle?
Sure. Well, no, that one it belongs in a museum.
Okay.
That yeah. And send it to the Hall of
Fame.
It's
like next to Nathan Peterman.
He had negative 1.5 fantasy points against Seattle, Max Brosmer.
That's Jalen Hurts.
Close to Jalen Hurts, yeah.
So I think we're all on the same page here. We're basically saying Rodgers back to the Steelers probably. Kirk Cousins goes back to the Falcons. Tua back to Miami. Bryce Young goes back to Carolina. And so what we're looking at is basically you can trade probably a second-round pick in a competitive market for Mac Jones from the Niners, which also takes out certain teams. And then you can try to trade a fourth rounder or a third rounder, probably a fourth or a third for Kyler Murray to pay him you'll have to pay him 25 or 30 million. You could try to pay 25 million for 1 year to Geno Smith. So you can do Mac Jones, Kyler Murray, Geno Smith, or you could just sign Joe Flacco.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, Marcus Mariota's a free agent.
Mariota. Yeah. No. I mean, we could go Mariota.
Right. Sorry.
He's looked actually pretty decent. Maybe the elbow injury or what was it? Was it Heifetz a nerve issue in his elbow?
He had a nerve issue in his throwing arm. He's had a bunch of stuff, but that's the one that he just was a better thrower. He had a nerve issue in his throwing arm. He also just has always been a little bit of a Trevor Lawrence blockhead. I think Mariota has always had brain farts. Mm-hmm. But there's other players here, but I'm curious, you guys. I mean, there's Russell Wilson. There's Jimmy Garoppolo as a free agent. Mitchell Trubisky, Carson Wentz off shoulder surgery, Derek Carr off shoulder surgery. But it gets bad fast, is the point.
Somebody's got to bring Derek Carr back. I feel like he's not done.
I think
Phillip Rivers can come back. Yeah, anyone can come back.
I think Mac Jones is the clear number one. I think number two is Geno Smith versus Kyler Murray.
That's where I am too, Craig.
And maybe number 3 is Marcus Mariota. DK, would you rather have for the same price Geno Smith for 1 year or Kyler Murray for 1 year on a good team on the Colts?
Oh, I think Geno.
Heifetz?
Geno somehow is more accomplished.
You're saying Geno Smith or Kyler Murray?
Yeah, you have to give up whatever. A late round pick
Same
and
price?
pay him
Call it the
$25
same.
million a year.
Wait, you have to trade for Geno because he's on a 2-year deal.
Yeah, Geno's owed $26 million next year.
Let's just, for argument's sake, say it's the same thing. You give a 4th rounder and you have to pay $26 million
for
Kyler or Geno.
Yeah.
I think he can run a real offense with Geno.
I would.
Well, Kyler Murray was just benched for Jacoby Brissett. And I think if we did this exact exercise last year, we wouldn't have even mentioned Jacoby Brissett because he was so bad in New England. Like, Jacoby Brissett was unplayable. And the fact that the Cardinals they didn't just bench him, they banished Kyler Murray. They're keeping him an injured reserve rather than, he's not even active, I think speaks volumes. I also think the fact that his teammates are okay with it is really the problem. Like, if the truth is, if Kyler Murray was beloved, they couldn't do what they're doing. They're benching him. Like, the teammates feel they have a better chance to win with Jacoby Brissett. And also, everything else would suggest you go with Kyler Murray because he's not that old, even if he's the kind of skill set that ages really poorly. Kyler is, at one point, was so talented. You bet on talent. You bet on number 1 picks. All these picks around the league are flourishing in second situations. But I think the fact that we have to even ask about his the leadership ability and whether teammates trust Kyler Murray is a deal breaker. And I'd rather actually roll the dice on 35, 36-year-old Geno Smith than I don't know. Maybe winning fixes all. And if Kyler Murray came in, but the fact that he cannot play for the Arizona Cardinals is a huge red flag to me.
I think I'd go with Kyler over Geno.
Kyler.
I guess if
it's
it's
close.
1
It's
year,
close for me. It's close for me.
I as much as I don't like him or think he's a Super Bowl capable quarterback, I don't know. If he's on a good team with Steichen, I would probably bet on Steichen to figure that out and build something for him that works. And if the roster's good and they can put together a couple wins, I don't know. The raw talent of Kyler using his legs, I think I would go with that than 36-year-old Geno.
That probably is the right move.
It's probably what I would do if I really had to make the choice, but I feel like it's a siren song.
Yeah, you will win if you get Kyler to Minnesota, you'll win the offseason. But again, I know this sounds hypothetical. I do think the Cardinals will get rid of Kyler. Like, they can't pay him $40 million to be the backup if they won't even have him be the backup on their active rosters right now.
Well, the question is how much of his money are they going to have to eat, and how low of a price tag are they going to offer to get rid of him?
There's a $17 million bonus I think Arizona eats. Just, you're right. So they get a day 2 pick, or probably a 3rd rounder, or maybe it's a 4th with a swap to make it. Maybe they take a 3rd and they swap something later to make it look like they got a better deal than they got. But yeah, I mean, because if you go through here, I think let's say the Jets or Browns. One of them gets Mendoza. Let's say one of them trades for Mac Jones, and let's say the Raiders get like Ty Simpson or something. Two of those 3 teams draft someone. One trades for Mac.
Yeah.
And then the Colts end up with Anthony Richardson's the developmental guy. Jones, they re-signed him $10 million or something, he rehabs. And then, maybe they get Kyler Murray. And then I think Joe Flacco makes sense, I think, with a team that will draft a quarterback. Like, if you get Fernando Mendoza, you don't want to play a rookie quarterback immediately. I think Joe Flacco makes sense, ironically, to the Jets or Browns, one of the teams that he's played for already. Like, I think Flacco back to the Jets in front of a rookie and they just sit here and watch Joe Flacco be a pro. That makes sense, right? Instead of having to play for the Colts or Vikings.
Yeah. How many times has a guy been signed by a team? Well, is it possible that Flacco was on the same team 3 different times in his career? He's been on Cleveland twice.
Go look at Josh Johnson's career.
I was going to say, if you meant re-signing with the same team, I was going to tell you about Phillip Rivers, a crazy thing that just happened.
Yeah. I'm saying, has anyone done it? Has Josh Johnson been on the same team 3 different times?
3 times is a lot.
That's a good question. Dude, Flacco was on the Jets for 3 years, from 2020 to 2022.
Yeah.
I have no memory of that.
That's the COVID.
I barely remember him on the Broncos. That doesn't really read to me.
He was on the Broncos? Get that.
Oh, that was when he was the worst of his career. Was he couldn't beat out the Broncos? Look at the quarterback room. He couldn't. He lost. Who was the 6th-round pick? The Broncos ended up playing for like a couple of years. Oh God!
Didn't they try Paxton Lynch?
No, the guy who beat out Trevor Siemian beat out
Siemian.
Paxton fucking Lynch. And Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco had a beard. He looked really angry all the time.
What's funny about that is
Drew
Joe
Lock
Flacco
had 5 starts in that season.
Dude, Joe Flacco was only 34 that Denver year.
And he was old, and we thought he was done, which tells you something about football.
He went 2-6. Drew Lock went 4-1, and Brandon Allen went 1-2 as a starter that year. I don't remember any of that.
Flacco was only 10 years younger than Phillip Rivers right now. When he was declared washed.
That's
what I'm saying.
Wild.
44 is the new 34, Craig.
Do you feel that way?
Say 39.
You just said you identified with Rogers' quote that sometimes you just wake up feeling good or bad when you're in your 40s. You don't know
true,
why.
Man. Some days you don't feel sore. Some days you do.
Yeah. And he plays football for a living. What do you do?
I type a lot, I talk. It's pretty much the same thing.
Yeah.
You ever got a paper cut on your index finger?
Yeah.
Use your computer. Oh my God, it's a nightmare.
That's why I've got the insurance if you get injured on the job. If you break your finger, you can't type.
What a sad and depressing offseason. It's the Mac Jones sweepstakes. Who's gonna get Kyler Murray, Mendoza, and Ty Simpson? Like, what is this? It
is. The 2027 draft is cucking the 2026 draft. Yeah, it's all anyone's going to talk about. It's
always the next draft.
But
this one is so much better
every fucking year.
DK's actually right though. That's always the narrative. Well, the year after is supposed to be insane. Because I believe everyone said the 26 draft was going to be awesome because it was like Arch Manning and all these guys, and now it's like actually none of them. They're all going to go back. Is Arch even good? Once you actually see these guys play, opinions change.
Yeah, but sometimes they're right though. Sometimes,
and then sometimes they're wrong.
That's true. That's the tricky part.
This is so anecdotal, but I just always remember this. Like there was a moment in time. I very vividly remember people talking about Matt Barkley like he was going to be the number 1 pick in the draft. And then can you tell me where Matt Barkley went in the draft? It was like 6th round or something.
He had a tough run out. I will say though, I think you're right that everybody at some point when they start getting into they hit the cliff of a given position, they're like, oh, next year.
It's an easy way to keep your job by being like, well, we just need to wait one more year because that class is better.
However, DK, the given hit rate of any individual player, even quote unquote unanimous players or generational players, the hit rate is like 2/3 instead of 50-50. However, I do think when people going into a draft say that this position class is good, that's usually correct, like way more often than you think. When people are saying that the strength of this given class, the grouping, like when we say the quarterback class in 2024 is strong, or the receiver the receiver class in 2024 is strong.
It's usually the depth they're talking about.
Yeah, but that's usually right. Now, it's hard to figure out which guys will be good, but generally speaking, I do actually think that people do actually gauge correctly the depth of given classes sometimes.
No, I agree with that.
I think you're right.
Identifying how many quote unquote S tier position group players there are in each draft. If it's deep, they're usually right about that.
That being said,
identifying this quarterback versus that quarterback, I feel like it's a true coin flip. I don't even think it's 2/3 hit rate for generational players. I feel like it's 1/3.
50-50.
It's not high. I mean, and that even if do you want to even go into outcome of just whether the player is good, or do you want to go into outcomes of careers? Because you could look at 2012 with Andrew Luck and Griffin, and it's do you count RG3? Do you count Andrew Luck? He played fucking 5 seasons.
I know. Yeah, I mean, you kind of have to.
Well, the other thing, Heifetz, what I was thinking about when you were saying usually they're right when it's a really deep class or a great class. Like last draft, 2025 draft, was considered, I think, by a lot of people the best running back class in a generation or in 20 years or something like that. Do you think that's real? Do you think that's the truth?
I think you do need a couple years to grade a draft. I think it's harder for rookie running backs to get on, but you're right. It's been underwhelming.
Dude, sure. I've been very underwhelmed.
Look at the last 10 number 1 overall picks. Jadeveon Clowney, disappointment. Jameis Winston, disappointment. Jared Goff, good. Myles Garrett, fantastic. Best case scenario.
He got traded though, Craig.
Right. Baker Mayfield didn't work by the team that drafted him. Kyler Murray didn't work. Joe Burrow, great. Trevor Lawrence, I would say underwhelming. Trayvon Walker, fine. He's come along late. Bryce Young, underwhelming. Caleb Williams, TBD. Cam Ward, TBD. But what are we, 2 guys who we were absolutely that was the right pick?
It's wild.
Myles Garrett and Joe Burrow.
And I think the list is it still true? I think the only number 1, do you guys know the only number 1 pick in the 21st century that's won a Super Bowl?
Eli?
Yes. Or you guess now Stafford has, but even that is kind of the exception proves the rule.
For not
'cause
the team
Stafford
that drafted him, though.
Yeah, he got traded
right.
from the team that drafted. He asked for a trade because they were so bad on the Lions that he was like,
Yeah.
"Can I leave?"
A lot of guys have. Burrow's been, Goff has been, but yeah.
Yeah. So,
The draft is hard, guys.
well, it's also the nature of the first pick is, can you turn around the worst team in the NFL in
Right.
4 years?
Right.
Which is almost always fucking no. So anyway, so all that is to say we're going to go through the whole offseason. DK is our draft expert here at the Ringer, and we're going to go through free agency, offseason, combine, draft, and all that stuff. And so we're going deeper into that and all the players.
DK loves
later.
the draft, man. This guy can't get enough of it.
Any other quarterbacks you guys want to talk about before we move on here? We didn't mention
Davis
Russell
Mills.
Wilson.
How did we forget about fucking Davis Mills? He's going to
The
be
neck?
starting somewhere. Yeah, the neck.
Big neck?
The Texans probably won't trade him because they kind of need him.
Will Howard?
Yeah, Mills is under contract. That's why I left him off. It's like one of them, like D'Amico Ryan's going to be like, he went 3-0.
Yeah. People like to talk about Tanner McKee
I'm
because
sick-
he's like just been nails in the preseason.
I'm
Can
sick
the
of
Eagles
the-
trade
the
Tanner McKee? Since,
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, he might need a Jalen Hurts.
I know.
Jalen Hurts.
I think we've hit all the names we needed to hit.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
Let's get Chris Ryan in here.
Let's get to Chris Ryan. I'm going to ask Chris Ryan if he would trade Tanner McKee for Anthony Richardson's trade up. Who says no?
Ooh.
The Ringer Fantasy Football Show is brought to you by FanDuel. Thursday Night Football continues to deliver, and FanDuel's keeping the energy up with their $2 million Thursday Night Football jackpot. Place an anytime touchdown score bet using your profit boost, and if your player scores the first or last touchdown of the game, you'll earn a share of $2 million in bonus bets. So head to FanDuel.com/RingerFantasy to download the app and get started. FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Must be 21 plus and present in select states, or 18 plus and present in D.C., Kentucky, or Wyoming. Opt-in must apply profit boost token on select market. Prize pool to be split equally among all eligible participants who made the correct first or last TD pick. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets which expire 21 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rg-help.com. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut. All right, we are now joined by Chris Ryan here at The Ringer. And Chris, Eagles fan, when did you realize Jalen Hurts sucks?
Danny, come on, dude.
Sorry, I misspoke. When did you realize Nick Sirianni was the most overrated coach in NFL history?
Good to see you. I hope you had a nice Thanksgiving. We're going to have nice holidays. Don't ever talk to me again. No, but, we're in a little bit of a dip, and thank God no one else in this division is capable of threatening our supremacy over it. So otherwise, I would probably be a lot more worried about the postseason. I'm excited for the postseason because I think it will be the great purifying rain that needs to come down on this franchise, and we'll figure out who's who and what's what after we get through the playoffs. I am at my wit's end, Heifetz, for real. The group chat civil war, it's raging. The Hurts camp, the Nick camp, the nobody camp. Is it Tanner time? It's just really, it's so weird to have this happen, not only after a Super Bowl, but to be right back where we were the previous year, where this kind of it's just boom or bust, and it's just this collapse or absolute glory, and I don't really know how to handle it. But last night was terrible. Last night sucked.
Is there a pro Jalen Hurts contingency still? And if so, what is their case?
Andy really likes him as a person. That's the contingency. Contingent is I know people who think this guy in the biggest games plays his best football. He was better than Patrick Mahomes twice, and that you cannot go away from somebody. You wait your whole life to find a quarterback who takes you to 2 Super Bowls in 3 years and wins one of them. And so that's you just got to stick by your dude, and that maybe there's just a problem with Patullo, the offensive coordinator. Maybe it's Nick's system. Maybe there's stuff going on behind the scenes. Maybe AJ's a headache. But I don't know. I mean, I watched the game last night. Let me just take you through my weekend. We had I'm a Liverpool fan. They are absolutely detonating. The best player in the most recent era of Liverpool was just like, I'm done with this club. Did that publicly. Liverpool, I think, are like winless in 5 or 6 games. So that was cool. Sunday night, Sixers at home against the Lakers. Lose to a LeBron HGH game. And then last night, 3.5 hours of Eagles Chargers, watching Justin Herbert continuously fall on his surgically repaired left hand and look more spry and mobile, and obviously like a better passer than Jalen Hurts. So tough couple of days.
Can I ask a question about Jalen Hurts and the people that are both pro or con for Jalen Hurts? What do you in particular think of the fact that he legitimately never shows any emotion? My buddy sent me a video yesterday. So there was the Monsters Inc. version of the broadcast last night that was how it sounds like they converted the game into a Monsters Inc. world. Mm-hmm. And there was all these like interstitials that the league put out. It was all geared towards children, young, impressionable, just want to live their lives and have fun children. And one of the questions was, did you believe in monsters when you were a kid? And like all these other players were like, yeah, I was like afraid of the dark. I was afraid of shadows, blah, 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 like telling all these funny stories. And Jalen Hurts goes, no, I wasn't afraid of monsters.
I unsubscribed from Jalen's news. This was like when he's winning. What's the line in Bull Durham where he's like, when you get to the majors, you can let fungus grow on your shower shoes and people will think you're idiosyncratic or something like that. But until then, you're a slob. It's like when Jalen's kicking ass and winning, his Yoda thing is like really funny and cool. And when we're losing, it's maddening.
That's where I was last
That was
night.
a under kind of reported part of the lead up to the Chargers game was some Saquon stuff about like how bad the vibes are on the sideline and how he's like in the meetings and in the practice we're like really supportive and really animated and we suck on the sidelines. Like and I just think that's a top down thing. Like I don't like the fact that he is never walking around firing people up. Now, if you watch the mic'd up, you see there are more moments that they don't show on the broadcast. He's taking responsibility. He's firing people up. He's saying like, hey, we got to do this. We got to do that. But when you're just like watching the broadcast and he is staring into space, it's really tough, man. I'm like
after his 4th pick to end the game, it zoomed in on his face. And he was just like,
just look at your tablet, like pretend like you're studying something. Pretend like you're like, oh, I missed that. And
just performative. I don't care. Do something performative. Yeah.
The Eagles are so strange because on one hand, you're built to play with the lead. Like as a team, obviously the offensive line when it's at full strength, obviously Lane Johnson being out's hurt, but like when you have full offensive line, the Saquon, the running game, the tush push, you're built to play with the lead. But there's also a strange element of the Eagles where there's almost like emotionally, the Eagles are built to dominate when they have the lead and winning, but they are not built to deal with adversity. Like Nick Sirianni is an amazing head coach, and they all love this guy when they're winning, but seems unable to galvanize or fix when things are not going well. Jalen Hurts is not like there's a strange element here of they pull together faster when they're losing than other teams, and they stick together stronger than other teams when they're winning.
Yeah, I think that there's like the nature of these seasons has not been beneficial to like my mental health or like being able to fairly evaluate the team because the last two, the two kind of, let's call what's happening now like more or less a collapse, and the previous one 2 years ago, both came after a relatively successful beginning of the season. And so while if you were watching the games, I don't think anybody was like that Eagles team is the Super Bowl favorite and I'd pick them over any team anywhere. They still had the wins. Like they still had the record to support it. And then this sort of watch them kind of like careen off the road like this. It's a different kind of like you're asking something different from Sirianni that I think you do from like Ben Johnson, who's like, I'm piecing together, like they're learning my system. We're 500, we win some, we lose some, and then all of a sudden we go on a run, and we look like we can play anybody. That's like a much more manageable and understandable like arc of a season. This makes it seem like there is something wrong. This makes it seem like you guys don't like each other, or you're not listening to Nick, or Jalen's like bailing out of plays, or he's not calling like half the playbook, or Sirianni just thinks if we don't lose the turnover battle, we'll win the game, and that's all I care about. And you just see things and you just get to the limits of what reporting can tell you. So like one of the things that's been driving Eagles fans, sorry for just ranting, but one of the things that's been driving Eagles fans really crazy this year is we routinely just snap the ball with 1 second left on the play clock. It just seems to take forever to get the play in, get the play called, get Jalen's protection set up. We're always snapping on 1 second. There is no momentum to this offense whatsoever. There is no rhythm. But when you think about the up-and-coming dominant versions of these Hertz Eagles teams, it's all rhythm. It's all buzzsaw run, big play because everybody's keying on the run. And we just have none of that this season. And it's just really hard to watch. The thing that's saving it for me is the defense.
Can we talk about A.J. Brown for a second? I think he's the most discussed player of the Ringer Fantasy Football Show this year. He's been in and out of the burn book every other week. Do you, where are you at with him from an effort standpoint? Because he's had 3 straight 100-yard games. They've lost every one of those.
Yeah.
And yet there are moments where he still looks like the most dominant receiver in the league. There was a couple plays last night. He caught 2 balls in a row. He was banging his chest. You're like, this guy can still dominate any cornerback. And then half a quarter later, he's bailing on deep shots that looks like he could have caught.
Yeah, and he also, there was a play over the middle that was in his hands.
Yeah,
and that you can see in the replay, he's clearly seeing a safety coming at him
for sure,
and kind of and that happens. It's a real bummer that his comments after the game last night were that's not all on Jalen. We got to help him out. That's a ball I can catch. Blah blah blah. It's yeah, because they were spamming you, dude. This really is as simple as if you get targeted a bunch and you get your catches and you get your numbers, you kind of it didn't matter that we lost in an absolutely ridiculous fashion to the Chargers in a game that we definitely should have won against a one-handed quarterback. And when we've won and he had 3 targets, it was all he talked about was oh, they, here's my Instagram post about when you don't look at the fish that swims by you, he swims into the ocean. And it's come on, man. This is pretty obvious what's going on here.
It's funny because I feel like I do get this team in a way because they remind me of when the Giants won the Super Bowl. No one wanted to admit Eli Manning was good. So I understand as Eagles fans who are really mad that Jalen Hurts, people don't admit that he's good or whatever. They're like, what do you mean? He won the MVP, or Super Bowl MVP. But
no, it's different though. Everything Eli did in those 2 Super Bowl runs was pure raw Eli. It was Eli was the guy slipping out of sacks and making these incredible throws that were on the money, the Manning camp. That was all Eli raw talent. I feel like Jalen Hurts is the opposite, where he looked very good and all that stuff. But a lot of the bad plays are directly on Jalen Hurts. He cannot throw out of the pocket. He can't throw on the move. His athleticism seems to have gone away. His arm doesn't work. To me, Eli was always when Eli was going nuts and on these crazy runs and people tried to argue Eli's not actually good. When you watch those runs, Eli looks good. I don't think Jalen Hurts has looked good.
Yeah, he's gone basically something has happened since the second Giants game. It's basically been a solid month of him looking quite poor.
Which they lost the first Giants game they lost because he threw a pick, and then they came back in the second game. I will say this to be devil's advocate in the true sense of the term, because I'm on record as I think Philadelphia is just Sodom and Gomorrah. But to be devil's advocate, when the Eagles' offensive line's healthier next year and Lane Johnson's back, to be honest, I just think the issue is Nick Sirianni is a baseball manager. He's not a football coach.
Well, when they get their new coordinator next year that Sirianni doesn't hire.
That Roseman hires, yeah. I mean, I was having this conversation today where I was just if they collapse again, if they fully, they win one more game this regular season or something like that, I just basically think it's Super Bowl or out for Nick, because I just don't know how many times you can go back and forth. Look, they're a really good team. They've been historically a really good team over the last couple of years, so your coordinators are going to get rated. Yeah. If they have a good coordinator, he'll become a head coach. If they have a bad coordinator, they'll fire him. Every time we do that, it's another time Jalen Hurts has to start over with another OC. This is the plague of not having
the play calling head coach,
caller as your head coach, who's just it's and the worst part about it is that Sirianni isn't like Harbaugh, so he's not I'm open philosophically to whoever bring in Greg Roman or Todd Monken or this person, or adjusting to how the personality. He's no, I have an offensive system that is proven to work if it's run correctly. It just needs to be run with an all-time generational offensive line that we had, and that we don't have right now. Bring Becton back, brother. Come on.
Yeah, you just have like first round tackles as your right guard, and like suddenly it's super easy.
I feel like speaking of making playoffs, we should pivot here to fantasy, the Ringer
I'm glad we
Fantasy
did that.
League.
And I'm glad, there's a good segue here because a lot of Philadelphia fans didn't have AJ Brown's back this year.
Unlike you, who had him, started him every week in the Ringer Fantasy League. And look, he honestly brought you to the playoffs.
I actually did bench him. I did bench him for a couple weeks. Like I think there was a bye somewhere, and then I also was like, let me give him a week to think about it, and week to think about the culture that we've built here at Brickhouse Tate, and think about the principles that I instill. I've been watching a lot of opening press conferences from the college football hires. I'm thinking about putting together like a kind of acronym for what we believe in over at Brickhouse Tate, like ACRP or something like that.
I mean, you're really the Sirianni of this team because you didn't bring in the coordinators. That was all Tate. Tate did all that for you.
Yeah.
And then next year when you have to draft your own team, that's really when we're going to see what you're made of.
We'll see. Yeah. I mean, I think I've learned some lessons here, but I've had time to develop my own schemes. And so maybe there will be some personnel changes this year. One thing I'll say is just I never spent any waiver money and I never made any trades. I believed in my guys.
You didn't spend any
just
waiver
draft
money?
and develop.
Well, I want to go through
Barely.
this.
So let's talk about the reason why I'm on this podcast, which is one of the great pickups of the fantasy season was Drake May bye last week. I'm playing Bill. And I decide to go and pick up Shadur before this Titans game. And start him along with Goff. And I always knew. I always believed. It was just a matter of Stefanski believing. Right. And it paid off in huge dividends. 350 yards. It smoked Bill. And look, it's just about your feel for a guy. Like, you don't have to look at the numbers. You don't have to look at the tape.
Right.
It's just like, I think this guy is ready to perform for me. And he did.
He shoots from the hip.
Yeah.
Right there.
Do you have a general review of the fantasy? When's the last time you played fantasy football?
Several years ago, I think. Yeah.
How's the year back been? How's the Ringer League? What was your experience like this year?
I think it was like a long-running television show that I would check in intermittently. It was like Abbott Elementary. I would come in for a couple weeks. Maybe I'd be like, oh, I missed a couple of weeks. That's
have
weird.
a few
That's
laughs.
That show won Emmy, so I'll take that.
Yeah, I just think, I like you said, I didn't get a chance to draft my team, so it's been a process of getting to know these guys, of getting close to Drake, of getting, like believing in Jahmyr Gibbs where nobody else did.
Right.
I gotta say, shout out to Tate. He did a great job.
The most made fun of pick was the Drake May pick, and he's been really good.
And Tate did the Lord's work because he also kept Drake May from going to Bill, and so so Tate kind of started that, and then you finished it by knocking Bill out of the playoffs at the last second.
I refused
so you guys
to
really
trade
wire to
Drake May
wire.
Bill after the third week.
Oh, did he try to trade for him?
Yeah, that was
I can't remember what the
strong.
package was, but it was not. It was not only through the Yahoo platform trade offer, but then, frankly, inappropriate
Cold hard cash.
personal text message from Bill, being like, "Can we do something here?"
He's like, "Hey, we'll do Sicario next week."
And I think I actually said, like, "Let me think about it." And he was like, "What's there to think about?" And I was like, "This conversation's over."
What's that?
And he's been like pretty nice to me, but not as nice as he's capable of being.
I know. I mean, he's out. I mean, you just bounced him from the playoffs.
He bounced him from the playoffs. So that we have to talk about that. So, Chris, you made the playoffs. So, DK and I have the first round bye. You're going to be playing
Sal.
You're playing Sal in the playoffs, and then House is going to be playing Mal. Though, more importantly, though, the losers bracket is going to be the people who didn't make it: Craig, Bill, Van, and Sean. And so, Bill tried to weasel out a last place bracket this morning by saying that I thought it was the regular season standings when it's you haven't played in years. It's obviously the toilet bowl bracket is the last place punishment decider here.
What I learned, I was talking with Sean and Chris the other day, and what I learned, Heifetz, is that you're right, and the receipts are there from August talking about what the rules are for the league. It turns out nobody read those text messages.
Yeah. It was news to me when Craig was like, "You're making the playoffs."
That's one of them like, happy for you or I'm sorry, I ain't reading
Bill
all
should
that.
pull a Notre Dame, though. He should be like, I'm not subjecting my guys to an extra week of football when there's nothing in it for us,
That's actually good.
Not helping the ratings.
You guys, Sean, or Chris, you and Sean complained to me about these playoff rules, which are a little bit odd on the surface, but when you explain them, I believe they make sense, where we have the top 4 seeds make the playoffs, and then the 2 wild cards essentially are of the remaining 6 teams that aren't among the top 4 seeds. The best 2, the 2 highest scoring teams of the remaining 6 get to make the playoffs, which to me and to all of us ensures that the best 6 teams actually make it. And I have to imagine now that you've slipped in, you've kind of changed your tune, because I would be in the playoffs if not for that.
That's
rule.
not true. It didn't matter at all. It was everyone has the same record. It's literally 5, 6, 7, 8 all finished 6 and 8. So Chris got in a tiebreaker. It actually completely was the same no matter what standings.
Oh, that's right. If Vlad McConkey had scored 5 points last night, that would have changed. But
yeah, no, that was
because
impossible.
I had Dicker and the Chargers defense last night, which complicated my viewing slightly. So I was just a bit. I was like this is gonna suck. But also, just send it home, Cameron.
You're like, how long's this kick? 55? That's 5 points.
I do think that is the weirdest part of fantasy. Is I always felt like my real life team superseded fantasy, and I haven't known how to unstick it with the Giants are so bad that I'd rather my fantasy team win. But even when teams are competitive, I actually kind of sometimes want my players going against the Giants to do well. More, sure. It actually complicates my real life rooting more than I ever would have thought.
Just want a high scoring game.
Chris, here's the real important question we have for you though. Losers bracket. So if Craig comes in last, he has to. You're gonna do. I don't know if we're gonna do no caffeine or matcha for Craig for a week, or he has to drink straight coffee because he hates coffee. We'll figure that out. The real question is, if Sean Fennessy comes in last place, we have to have him wear a headband on a pod, and he cannot address it. And I want to know if you have any thoughts of what kind of headband Sean should wear on a podcast.
And is it reasonable to demand that he wears the headband in a director interview show?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So he has to wear a headband that says Paramount while he interviews Chloe Zhao.
Yeah.
No,
it's a David Ellison branded headband.
David Ellison branded.
Just wore the traditional red handkerchief bandana thing across it. I wore that in one of our old Ringer videos, and it just, you can't help but feel like Dennis Hopper when you're doing it. I think it would change his podcasting style. I think
Prison Mike in the office.
You would have a new personality.
Yeah.
Would you rather see that or Bill have to wear a jersey of the winner's choosing on a pod?
What jersey?
Sal keeps threatening a Pat McAfee jersey.
I've heard even worse, which I won't reveal, but I've heard something that's worse than that.
Really?
Better, yeah. Craig. Better.
I guess better's better. Sal has an idea that I actually don't think Bill would do. Bill would opt out.
That's where he would pull the Notre Dame.
All of us to be like, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
We're not going to say what it is.
I think what I want is to humiliate Bill. So that's Sean wearing a bandana. It's kind of I would just feel bad, and especially if he was interviewing somebody really, really serious. The Bill thing is endlessly hilarious.
Craig, you're gonna have to do the Lord's work. You're playing Bill this week in the toilet in the first week.
I know, that's right. Maybe we need to collude. Trade me some of your good bench players so I can beat Bill this week.
Do you guys know? Did I ever tell you guys the story about the time on the watch that I forgot to put on my nicotine patch in the morning?
No.
So I've been using nicotine since I was 20. So for the better part of 30 years. And I've gone from gum to, for a while after cigarettes, but I went from gum and then I was wearing the patch for a while. So you just have to remember to slap it on when you wake up, and then you just don't think about it for the rest of the day. But for some reason, one time I forgot, and it was probably the longest I had gone without nicotine for most of my adult life. And midway through a 2 p.m. watch recording, I was kind of to Andy, I was like, do you ever stop talking? I almost started crying. So I just really like the idea of Craig having to go
on matcha.
But then pod 3 times in a week with you guys, where it's already contentious enough.
I was going to say, we already have that moment once a week.
With Craig sobbing and being I don't want to do this.
That's really funny.
God.
Craig's going to be doing the rewatchables. Bill's going to be like, what'd you think of this movie? And Craig's going to be like, I don't know. It's 20 years before I was born.
I don't have a flex category on the legend of Billie Jean.
I don't even have Tubi.
Oh, my God.
Man.
That is amazing.
You guys happy with... Oh, okay. So let me just... To just get the expert opinions, and with the exception of Heifetz, relatively unbiased. Do you think this is flatline for Eagles, or is there a bounce back somewhere in here?
This season?
Yeah.
No, I don't think. I think like if you consider a bounce back one playoff win, then maybe. But I think that's as far as this team goes. I think the offensive line and the inability to run the ball. I mean, even last night, you look at Saquon's stat line and it looks good, but it was because of the fake push 60-yard touchdown.
Yeah,
and
the
outside
toss.
of that, they still couldn't run the ball. And I still just think the line issues and the inability to run is the whole reason why the wheels have fallen off. So I kind of don't think it's possible.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree. I think it just depends on what you say a bounce back was. They're playing the Raiders this week, so Jalen Hurts is probably going to look better, and that will be a bounce back, and the vibes will improve. But I don't see this team as like a Super Bowl team again.
What do you think? How many passes is Jalen Hurts going to throw against the Raiders? Like over under like 17.5.
14.
I mean, you see, I mean, you guys wouldn't have seen it, but the Philadelphia Inquirer ran a column today being like, "Is it Tanner time?"
Yes.
I mean, that's incredible. I think
Has
this
Tanner ever
season
missed?
is
That's
cooked.
the question.
This season, I think you're cooked. I think the Eagles are fine next year. I do think the front office hires you a better offensive coordinator, and Sirianni cannot run the offense, and Sirianni, frankly, shouldn't be involved a ton in running the actual offense. But every year that Howie Roseman has hired the offensive coordinator, you guys have been unbelievable. So I think next year will be fine. I think the Eagles are the Legion of Boom reincarnated, right down to how Jalen Hurts plays and how all the rest of the team feels about Jalen Hurts. I think that you guys are the Legion of Boom minus the Super Bowl losing thing that implodes the team. And I think that, yeah, as long as Nick Sirianni's not running the offense, you'll be fine. And
Do you
I
think A.J. Brown's on the team next year?
I doubt it. Because I think that would also be like, this is maybe he is entering his Stephon Diggs era where it's just like I can be somewhere for a couple of years, but like ultimately I burn out people around me. And I do wonder whether or not like you just have to make a decision that you're just going to kind of like soft reboot this team. Like I think Roseman needs to draft some offensive linemen. I think it's just like, you're probably like looking at like the back end of Saquon's prime right now. So I think there needs to be some retooling. The only thing that gives me hope for this year is I'm just like not blown away by any football team.
Right.
Like no football team in either conference is really like running away with it and is like, oh, there's no fucking way we're gonna beat the Lions or the Pack. I'm like, we can beat any of these teams. So it could be like one of those weird like Ravens years where we're like, you didn't think we even made the playoffs and look where we are now,
Yeah.
Right.
But that's hanging on to some real copium right there.
It used to happen more. Both Giants years it was weird. The Ravens year it was weird, and the Saints year it was weird. It doesn't happen a lot, and then it's like happens 4 times in 7 years. So it does happen. But yeah. Okay, Chris, thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having me on. Thanks for supporting my fantasy football management style. I know that some more hostile leagues might be like, Chris, wake up. It's time to make your picks here. But
We trust the process here at the Ringer Fantasy Football Show.
yeah.
All
Good
right,
luck.
next time we're gonna have you
Good
on.
luck these playoffs. I don't know who I want to win. I don't want Heifetz or DK to win, so I guess I am rooting for Chris.
Thanks.
Why don't you want us to win?
Wouldn't it look good for your podcast?
No, I don't. Fuck that. I don't want.
You're
either
already
to win.
off the matcha like one day, and he's like already wants us to lose. Jeez.
I want Heifetz's team to crash and burn. I don't know if I can deal with him gloating the entire offseason about winning. I can't do that.
Thank you, Chris.
Thanks for having me, guys.
All right, Fantasy Court. Time for Fantasy Court, baby. Quarters in session.
Definitely don't tell anyone about this thing that you're doing.
I don't really want to be handcuffed.
The definition of an object is a material thing that can be seen and touched.
Craig, when you're reading that, when you watch the video, you're like, I don't
I
know
know.
what that means.
I kind of like twist my head at the end, like, consider that.
So this court case is from Tim from Ireland.
Oh, T-Bone.
T-Bone. I don't know if we had jurisdiction, but Tim writes, so his breakfast is mixed berry and yogurt smoothie with an English muffin and butter.
We're like the Hague. We can do all kinds of international stuff, right?
And our power is mostly symbolic as well.
Right.
Also, Irish butter is incredible. Anyway, so this is a perfect fantasy court. I put this in. I read this before the Monday Night Football, and it's aged hilariously. Tim's case, which I will truncate. Tim basically writes, I cannot qualify for the playoffs anymore. However, I can bench Jalen Hurts before Monday Night Football, which would throw at my match and essentially keep this guy I hate out of the playoffs. And he beat me. He eliminated. It's like this guy joined their league 4 years ago. This guy won the league 3 of the last 4 years, and it's eliminated this guy. Tim, every season has been eliminated by this guy. And he's like, if I bench Jalen Hurts, I can keep this guy out of the playoffs. And I keep this fantasy court because I think, one, is that allowed? And two, how funny is it that Jalen Hurts basically didn't matter if he played or not in this guy's lineup? I think that's really funny.
0.4.
Yeah, Jalen Hurts and his 1 point, which obviously didn't make a difference. However, I wanted to ask you guys about generally
The
do
petty
you feel?
bench.
Yeah, just is it in the is it? I mean, it's not collusion or anything, but basically, if it's like it's your last shot, you're like, I have no agency left. Can I bench a guy going to Monday Night Football and it keeps? Can you decide a playoff spot and just be like, fuck it?
No.
It's pretty funny though.
It is funny.
Pretty funny.
Because
funny.
this guy had no shot of making the playoffs anyway, right?
He was eliminated. He had been a whole convoluted, but he was eliminated earlier in the day on Sunday. So he was like, the only thing he has left is do I play Hurts or not?
Here's what I'll say. Can you bench him and start no one in his place? No. However, if you had a different quarterback on your roster, could you have played that guy over Hurts?
So what he gets to
Make
add
up a
Trey
reason.
Lance and cut Hurts? Like, come on.
Well,
what are we saying?
No, not Trey
No,
Lance.
you have to play somebody who's starting.
Right.
Okay, but it's Monday Night Football, so that wasn't an option for him.
Well, if he prepared in advance, yeah. I guess
What if he
that's
had
true.
another quarterback on his roster?
I'm telling you, he did not because
Then,
he
then
emailed
no, I
this in.
think
talking
you have to play
hypotheticals
Hurts.
here, yeah.
And you have to, in good faith, start because that's just straight up like it's not collusion, but it's just
It's funny though.
Manipulation?
deliberately
Yeah.
sabotage.
Yeah, can you deliberately
sabotage the team.
sabotage your friends? That's exactly what I'm asking you.
No.
It's the rule of cool. DK's like some things should be cool, like so it counts. It's like some things are funny enough that it should,
I don't think you
just
can do
asking.
that. I don't think
Okay.
so.
All right,
Funny, but you can't do it.
Okay.
But the question is, did he start him, number one, and did scoring 0.4 points knock his buddy?
Well, he
doubt
said,
it.
"I'm benching him, but we'll go with your decision." And what's funny is it doesn't matter.
Right. I'm
'Cause there's
assuming
no
the guy
way Hurts
still
scored
didn't
enough
make the
points.
playoffs.
So he knocked the guy out. That's great.
Because he was
There you
probably
go.
like down 8 or something, and he was like, "Oh, Jalen Hurts is probably going to score more than 8."
Yeah, we got so many emails about. Shout out to, Josiah and Becca and Matthew and actually another Rebecca, which is weird. There were two different Rebeccas who just had. Everyone has their story of the
So
specifics.
weird.
My favorite of which is someone had Hurts and Jake Elliott just needing to outscore Cameron Dicker and actually very briefly did, and then Jalen Hurts threw a pick and then undid it. But there's just so many stories of Jalen Hurts' last pick at the end costing people, which I find hilarious.
Brutal.
So-
just a brutal night of fantasy.
Incredible. Okay.
Or great if you were on the winning end of it.
That's all we. Yeah. Oh, a lot of people happy too. All right. That's all we got for fantasy court because there was actually more stories like that. Someone had Lad McConkey. They're like, do I bench Lad McConkey? And and
Yeah, you know what, DK? We didn't actually hit on that yesterday.
Over, didn't he?
I've kind of been pissed at Lad McConkey all season, and you've been a defender of him. He fucking ruined my life last night.
Was it him or was it just like the Chargers losing another tackle?
He had like a 75% pressure rate. Justin
Herbert, I mean,
did.
McConkey was targeted a lot and never had a shot to catch the ball. Not because the throw was bad, but he was just like
He
never
was
in
being
position. And
blanketed.
Cooper
by-
DeJean was
Cooper
great.
Cooper
DeJean.
DeJean was all over his ass.
Will Compton has made all those jokes about if we had to field like a white football team, who would the players be? And I got to tell you, Cooper DeJean and Lad McConkey, that was quite the showing for the white team. You know what I mean?
I don't know if I'm picking Lad McConkey.
I know you're
Stop,
not.
dude. Cooper DeJean's just awesome.
Okay, well, Lad couldn't do a damn thing.
Okay, you want to do a couple emails and get out of here?
Craig.
One
Come on,
catch.
I'm
this is-
sorry for defending Lad this year.
Oh,
Craig.
please, Craig,
Take it back.
You actually mean this, don't you? You love Lad. Who are you?
I thought I liked Lad, and now I'm like, maybe he is just a mediocre slot receiver. I don't know.
Chris fucking nailed this. He's going to be a nightmare without the matcha. He's going to be a fucking nightmare without the matcha. I'm telling you right now. He's turning on Lad McConkey. He'll turn on me in 2 seconds.
I don't know. No, if Keenan Allen's gone next year, I'm sure Lad is going to be a great buy low, and it'll all work out, and I have to get over it. It's a little bit like Jalen Waddle, where
We need to do a tattoo of "Don't overreact" when Joe Alt and Slater are back. You're going to be so in.
Oh, yeah, I'm already writing down that I think Herbert is going to be like the single best quarterback you could draft in 2026.
It's going to be something. It's always something with the Chargers.
Oh,
There'll be
yeah,
something else next year.
That's the wiser answer. That's a man who's lived a life. One email I wanted to read here I thought was so funny was this is from Matthew.
M-Bone.
Matt
says, so I
Matty.
told a story about when I was playing high school football and the referee our running back ran into the end zone, scored a touchdown. The ref ruled that it wasn't a touchdown because the guy ran in the end zone. The ball didn't cross the fucking pylon correctly. Mm-hmm. So Matthew wrote, Heifetz, your high school football referee story resonated with me so much. It actually dredged up a memory I had forgotten for decades. And Matthew writes, in middle school flag football 20 years ago, I was playing linebacker, and the quarter ends. And the referee, knowing that teams switch sides between each quarter, but not knowing the full rule, just switched our teams. He just flipped the sides of the ball. Like, he just flipped what side of the ball we were on. So the opposing team, who had not been able to get any yards, went from their own 15-yard line to now at our 15-yard line because the ref didn't know to walk the ball down to the other end of the field. So he just had them switch sides, and he put them at the 15-yard line. And I'm 13, and I'm screaming at the ref, but this ref was 17 insisted he was correct. And then the team scored.
He's like, it's too much work. Why don't we'll just swap everything right now.
Walking all over there.
Go all the way down. I thought that was amazing.
I've never heard that before.
It's kind of brilliant.
I love that. I want more stories like that. Email stories of referees just doing their best, but also kind of terrible. Because I think the worst level of like the parents at Little League who are chirping referees for their 8-year-old kids because the refs are like 14. And I'm like, can you calm down? Scream at its 14-year-old ump. But however, sometimes those 14-year-old umps, pretty bad strike zones.
Are not
on those
very
kids.
good at it.
I don't know what you're fucking talking about.
Tough.
DK, could you see yourself kind of heckling a 14-year-old ump in a Little League game in a couple years?
No.
No?
What if
Say that now. You say that now. When Calvin goes down swinging,
come on, Blue. That is Jackie's favorite thing when we're at a game. She's like, who's paying you, ref?
Calvin goes down looking in the ninth, you're going to freak out.
That's bullshit, Blue. Pull your head out of your ass. That's so good.
16-year-old kid.
Yeah, he's getting paid like $25 to do this.
Speaking of baseball and paying people, before we went on, the Dodgers just signed Edwin Diaz, the closer, to $69 million. And Craig, who decided in the middle of the playoffs this year to be a Dodgers fan, I think the funniest thing ever is Craig being like digesting MLB news as a new Dodgers fan.
Yeah,
he's like, "Oh, is this guy good?"
Best.
I'm like,
he's like, "Oh, this is great."
Wait, I think he's like the best
don't all
closer in the
teams
league,
do
right?
this?
That's cool. Sweet.
Why didn't your team do that?
What?
Is $69 million a lot?
Not
Whatever.
in baseball.
Whatever.
It's chump change.
Does your guys' pitcher also hit 50 home runs, or is that just us? This is really fun. This is way better than rooting for the A's.
Pitcher also hit. How many bases did he steal? Did he steal a lot of bases too? How come your guys didn't do that?
This is way more fun than my team playing in a AAA stadium. I'm having fun. This is cool.
Craig, it's not your team anymore.
Anyway, yeah, Edwin Diaz. Let's do it. Why not?
Sure.
Keep adding more people, baby.
Fucking Dodgers. Just
Fuck a
signing.
salary cap.
I think Edwin Diaz, wasn't he a Mariner at one point?
Yeah, you traded Jared Kelenic, or the
Cool.
Mariners got Jared Kelenic for Edwin Diaz.
How did that work out?
Diaz was better, but then he broke his leg celebrating the World Baseball Classic. Like literally, just
I
one of them
remember
jumping
that.
up and down broke his leg
I do remember that.
right before the season began. So
Edwin Diaz is the guy that has the cool walkout music,
Yeah.
right?
got market corrected
get ready.
by Duran.
Get
this year,
ready.
but yeah, the Diaz intro.
Can we go to a Dodgers game this year, Craig? When
Of
we're
course
in
we
LA?
can.
Let's
Why
do
not?
this.
We should do a power hour of like rule changes for football that we need. One of them is we got to find a way for like closer intros are just unbelievable, and we need to figure out a way to get like intros for football better.
What if we had like kicker walkout music for like game tying or game winning kicks at the end of games?
Exactly.
Ooh.
How
kinda
amazing!
good.
Imagine if Brandon
Like
Aubrey.
pyrotechnics.
Lights go down. He's got to come out of the tunnel.
Yes, the kickers have to be in the tunnel.
Yeah.
Yes, like the relievers, and they
It's
jog
like
out.
a WWE entrance.
Yeah, he has a
That would be
robe on
great.
like Rocky.
Yeah. It's got like a flag
amazing.
draped
Yeah,
over
it
his
says the
shoulder.
thicker kicker on the back of his robe. It's got like a
my
big
God.
pig on it or something, and he's running out. He's got
It's
his
like that's
music
what the
playing.
Savannah Bananas would do if it was football. Email us ideas like that. I want ringerfantasyfootball@gmail.com.
They gotta kick it from. They gotta wear stilts.
Yeah, email us things the Savannah Bananas should do for football. We're gonna fix football. We're gonna fix the NFL.
We're gonna fix the most popular and fastest growing sport on earth.
Yes.
Sorry, in America, not on earth.
Yeah. Yeah, and then for baseball, I'm going to actually be like the most like uninvested and yet pleasantly surprised Dodger fan where I'm just going to be like, "Oh, this Diaz guy. I hear he's good. Cool.
Everyone else is like, you're ruining baseball.
Man, it's ruining baseball.
He's ruining golf.
Dude,
Kick him off the tour.
I literally did a wait. What am I?
Just
gasp?
stuffing my face with all-stars, not even caring.
I did a.
Oh, another
Wait,
one.
your team doesn't have a bunch of MVPs?
They brought
Dodgers
in
going to
another
trade for
all-star,
Hunter
huh?
Green. You're like, is he good? I'm like, yeah, he's 26, throws 104. Like,
Cool.
cool. That's sick.
We'll see
He'll
if
be
we
our
can
fifth
mix him
starter.
in. We'll see if we can mix him in the 8th.
He's not guaranteed playing time.
Oh,
He's got to earn it, just like everyone else. Just like all our other MVPs.
Yeah, I never realized that. It's really easy to change teams. You just do it.
This is.
And I got to tell you, it feels phenomenal.
You know what? I like the A's. Now I like the Dodgers. That's easy. That was so
the best.
easy.
So wait, we've never talked about this, but I have decided
There's no application. I just say it, and it's real.
But that's the thing. I think that this is how sports fandom
I
should
buy
be.
a hat.
I think being a fair weather fan is probably the smartest way to be a sports fan.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
being connected to these like legacy horrible teams like the Jets or the Browns, because you're like you know how many Jets fans are just like, well, my dad was a Jets fan, and like you know why he became a Jets fan? Because Joe Namath was cool and won a Super Bowl and fucked supermodels and like was drinking all the time and he was sick, and then like they rooted for him because he was good. Mm-hmm. Like you should do what you just did, where you rooted for the A's and you're like, fuck this team. You know who's cool? The Dodgers are cool.
Yeah.
Just be a fair weather fan. It's fine.
What's the big deal?
DK, you're nodding, but this is what you just did. I'm not saying you can root for whoever, but you live in LA, Craig. Like DK, like the Mariners sucked for 15 years. You took a little time off. Cal Raleigh has a big ass and it's 65 home runs. You're like, I'm in. That's how it should be. We should.
Fair weather fan is a little different than what Craig did, but true.
Well, yeah, Craig did decide. It wasn't even the middle of the Dodgers season. In the middle of the Dodgers playoffs, he was like, you know what?
He's like,
I'm in.
They're really good. They could win the World Series.
Yeah.
Otani, like 54
have my
home runs
attention.
in. Otani, the best game any baseball player's ever had in the NLDS. And Craig's like, I think I know what side I'm on.
I like this guy.
I was mad about that. Stupid.
Oh, because he's still Cal Raleigh's Thunder. Oh my-
Yeah.
that's the funniest thing that's developed the whole year. Is you being the best takes and the most unhinged shit people said all year. Second is DK saying, "I'm so annoyed at Otani," and then the other one was Carlos being like, "I hate the moments of Zen on YouTube TV."
That was.
I'd rather see commercials
That was a good take.
than moments of Zen.
I can't wait to get in some impassioned argument defending the Dodgers to somebody in like 2 weeks at a holiday party after having been a fake fan for 3 weeks. Like, it's gonna be awesome.
She's like, "Yeah, why do they even need a salary cap?"
I'm
All
like,
right,
you have no idea what the fuck you're talking about Teoscar Hernandez, all right? You have no idea. You know how important he was to us in August? You don't know shit.
Another former Mariner.
All right. Thank you, DK. Thank you, Craig. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Carlos. Thank you, Kai. Thank you, Ronak. Thank you, Austin. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Chris Ryan, for coming on the show. Thank you to everyone in the Ringer Fantasy Football League. May God have mercy on your souls. Yeah, and we'll add the Discord in the episode description here, and email us if you want it too. But yeah, people were into that, so we'll do that. So yeah, we'll put that in the episode description. And yeah, thank you, Lauren.
Thank you, Juicy J.
Nice.
Okay, we're back. I think I was 0 for my
You
last
know some
13.
Juicy J.
Oh, I know Juicy J.
You celebrate the man's entire catalog.
Yeah. I mean, better than what was the? Yeah, I do know Juicy J.
My target audience is not necessarily you, Heifetz.
I know.
Um,
I'm not complaining. I'm just saying for myself, I'm happy.
White
to know that.
millennials who like rap?
And I had Olivia Rodrigo
And EDM, right.
and Flume in my top 5 as well.
Flume. Is that the
Oh, I should do 2 bands.
Spotify's payroll app? What is that?
Headlining festival DJ or app that we use at Spotify is
Oh, that's, I mean.
Jamf DJ or
Yeah.
Jamf.
DJs sound more like workplace platforms than any other.
That's actually
artist.
so true. I kind of want to look up like Flume opening act and just look at what these fucking DJ are called.
Yeah, dude.
Juicy J's been on a lot of stuff, guys.
I mean, bands that make her dance is iconic.
And isn't it? It's not bands to make her dance. Isn't
Bands
it?
make her dance.
Bands make her dance.
Yeah.
But there's no. I'm looking it up now. There's no dashes. I feel like it'd make more sense if it was like bands dash a dash make, but it's not. It's bands make her dance.
Have you guys ever actually been around that much like cash? Like, have you actually ever seen like what's the most cash you've ever seen?
Oh wow, not much. Like,
Well,
I
how
don't
much
know.
did we win when we were in New Orleans?
That was a lot. We won like 50. Well, actually, we shouldn't say.
I think I've only seen like a couple grand in an envelope or something.
Did I tell you? I had a crazy
No one uses
experience.
cash these days.
Well, I had a crazy experience in the airport. So I took the trip. I went to France and Europe over the summer, and we had a layover. I'm not forgetting what year this was. Maybe it was a year ago. And we had a layover in Cairo and just getting back to America. And in the Cairo airport, in the duty-free section, I was trying to buy like Cuban cigars or something, and the guy ahead of me in line, I had to wait 40 minutes to do this because the guy ahead of me in line, you know how you can only bring $10,000 through an airport?
Right.
This guy had $9,900 in cash, mint bills, and was buying cigarettes because like taxes, and so they're clearly just selling untaxed. And so I didn't know this, but they have level like the random store. So there were 4 levels of management in the store, just guys in suits, and I have to sit there and watch them count manually in front of 3 different people count in like 20s $9,900,
Wow.
and they had to do it twice.
That could actually like fill a suitcase probably and look like a movie suitcase full of money. You know?
Yes,
Right,
it
right.
did. It was really weird. Also, obviously, who buys $10,000 for cigarettes? Obviously, it's weird. It was funny. It was a lot of money
Why did he choose
Probably-
cigarettes?
because cigarettes are taxed. So I think they're buying the untaxed ones at duty free, and then they're going to sell the cigarettes
Right. For a tidy profit.
for a profit. Yes. Anyway,
Okay. That's funny.
All right.
Yeah, I mean anything in 20s. Singles, dude, 10 grand in singles, you look like a millionaire.
dude, that's the best joke. It's the
look
best
like
joke
a
in
millionaire.
dodgeball. Where he's like, "Well, I'll give you $10,000," and they open the briefcase. It's like one band. He's like, "Well, it doesn't look very impressive in person." All right, goodbye, everyone. Must be 21 plus in present in select states. For Kansas, in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino, or 18 plus in present in D.C., Kentucky, or Wyoming. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rg-help.com. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York.